Once upon a time, there was a young lad who may have been me. He was naive, young, and bold. He loved video games. He loved Sonic. He loved Mario. He was always on the lookout for the next game he could get his hands on. There, beneath a flickering light, he saw laden upon a shelf a game he'd never seen before. The cover was blue. A cat was on it. And in big bold letters, it said Bubsy. Rushing home once the rental had been made, the youth burst into his room and slammed that game down into his SNES, and was greeted with the playful and cartoonish sounds it presented. Gleefully, he made the sprightly bobcat go to and fro, jumping and laughing, delightful sounds coming from his body. Until it came to him, as he encountered his first enemy, the dawning of a single idea. This game is awful. Like, really, really awful. There aren't enough adjectives in existence to describe how bad it is. But how could a bad game go on to spawn 3 more games and a cartoon pilot? How could a bad game have a mascot that's so well known? Well, I'll tell you. Starting at the beginning in 1993, Bubsy the Bobcat was a mascot for Accolade Games and the star of Claws Encounters of the Third Kind. And if that title doesn't make you want to implode out of how disgusting those puns are, then steel yourselves for what lay ahead. When I played this as a kid, I always thought I just sucked at games. I could beat Sonic or Mario, but this was one of those games in the Nintendo library that just seemed impossible to beat. It lay dormant for years until I tried it in my teens. And by this point, I'd beat plenty of hard games. I even beat Doom on Nightmare. But Bubsy was still out of my grasp. Even now for the playthrough we did, it was almost impossible. Everything feels like it's against you, and this is no more apparent than the controls. In any other platformer, you hit right and left, and that's the direction you travel. You let up, your character stops, therefore making jumping more precise and giving you a greater control. In Bubsy, you may as well tape an Angry Scorpion to your controller because it'll probably make things easier. Seriously, with the amount of kinetic energy stored in Bubsy, it's like being fired from a railgun. Every level is like an ice level, and you're controlling someone whose center of gravity is in their forehead. You're going to be wrestling these controls, and I use the term controls lightly. Charlie Sheen has more control in this game. What makes the controls worse is the lack of ability to see what's coming. The camera is way too pushed in to make any sort of platforming viable. I mean, seriously, you're practically inside Bubsy with how close this camera is. You can be running at top speed and have less than a fraction of a second to react to something in front of you. The L&R buttons can be used to look ahead of you, but why bother programming a button in the game that's the equivalent of checking a map? Why not just pull the camera back and let us see where we're going in a platformer? It's not like this is the first platformer to ever have come out either. They had time. What this means is you're going to spend a majority of your time flying over as much of the level as you possibly can. Yeah, you're a bobcat that glides. I'm not even going to bother coming up with something clever to say about that one. There's just one problem with this strategy. You need to explore the levels for lives and continues. You get 9 lives, but you have all the survivability of a small Oklahoma town during tornado season. Even flying over a level can result in you colliding with something you didn't see, finding a pitfall, or taking fall damage. You know, fall damage. Just like every platformer out there. Okay, this one doesn't exist in any other platformer. Alright, you know what? Why don't we just get down to it and play the game, yeah? Alright, first stage.
What could possibly go wrong?
The first couple of stages take place in this sleepy little town in which you get to be familiarized with the controls and also the enemies. Yes, the enemies. The woolies, as it were. Yeah, these things are called woolies. They might as well have been called willies. Am I right? That's comedy. The other thing you learn is that at the end of every third stage in each world, there is a boss that you have to fight, and then at the end of that boss, when you beat it, you get a password. The only time this doesn't happen is the jungle level, when it just throws you to the last level. Because, you know, fairness. Inevitably, you're going to need one of these passwords to get back to the game because you've got nothing better to do, and it beats doing massive amounts of cocaine by a thin margin. So this means we're going to have to go to the menu. Except the menu is hidden behind the select button. I'm sure the manual tells you something about this, but as a kid, the manual is little more than bathroom literature. The other buttons do nothing, and Start, the button you'd think would factor into the equation of getting you to a menu, simply starts the game. By the way, trying to input a password is just as laborious as playing the actual game. We started this game several times on accident because of button presses that made little sense. So you enter the password. Once again, maybe you think that you hit start to go. Nope. Takes you to the first level again. you have to hit select again and then hit start to get back to the level you were on. Whatever, we're at a state fair. Better make sure to avoid that fair food so you don't get the diabetes. This level is the perfect highlight for everything wrong with this game. Confusing level design, enemies that can attack you from off-screen, and a control setup designed to make your blood pressure go through the roof. It's a myriad of bad design choices that creates the perfect storm of horrible. But it doesn't just stop there. Oh no. Once you're done here, you go to the desert level. This, my friends, is where disaster always struck me as a kid. As an adult, it still does, except now I have the patience for it. Sort of. These levels also feel like they take forever because of the fact that you're on a train and then you're in a canyon. It's like having 6 levels for the price of 3, and they're all awful. The train is everything wrong with the controls, and the canyon is everything wrong with the camera. If you somehow manage to survive that, you'll go to the forest where no one has gotten out alive. Everything here is out to kill you, and the water running beneath and above does nothing to help the situation. It's another confusing level that's easy to get turned around in. And you come to the jungle where enemies will come from everywhere, even platforms they aren't even on to kill you. Then there's a spaceship, in which this happens a lot. It's funny at first, but then it starts to get really annoying. Also, as stated before, if you die here and have no continues, you have to start from the jungle again. Unless you cheat like we did, which I don't even really consider it cheating. I consider it retribution for all the cheating the game did. Also, this final boss is a joke. All for an ending that is the equivalent of having your whole family kidnapped, losing a hand and eye while searching for them, all to find out it was an elaborate prank by Ashton Kutcher. This game is terrible. I have no idea how we were so bamboozled by this trash back in the 90s. Bubsy got a lot of good press. It was marketed as the next Sonic or Mario. EGM at the time had awarded Bubsy as the most hyped character of 1993 and gave this game an 8 out of 10, and it got a Parents' Choice Award. I'd cry games journalism conspiracy if it didn't matter at all. I'm telling you guys, this game is bad. I know you've all heard it before, but if you've never played it, you just don't understand the suffering we went through and how tricked we all felt when we bought into the hype. I want to say that Bubsy was the game that taught me that not everything is going to be gold, and to be more careful with my choices in future games and to never buy into hype. I guess in the end, though, it didn't really matter, because there are still 3 games in a cartoon. Yeah, and we're going to be doing them. Don't worry, those are coming. You want to see a preview of the script for those? Here you go. Perfect. Hey everyone, I wanted to thank all of you for being so patient and waiting on this video. I know I promised it a long time ago, but it's really difficult to talk about Bubsy without cursing a lot. I want to take this opportunity to point out a couple of videos that we have below. We have a new series going on with myself and Tony. It's The Legend of Zelda, but it's a randomized version of A Link to the Past. And over here we have Final Fantasy IV, or Final Fantasy II, or Final Fantasy Mathematics. Who knows? I also want to take this opportunity to announce that we're going to be doing something special at 100 subscribers. So share this stuff with your friends and ask them to subscribe and say, hey, these guys are really funny and you should be cool with them too. Anyway, thanks for everything, guys, and take it easy out there.